What up, bees? My 23andme results are here, and I am going to share them with you. They said it would take 4 to 6 weeks, but it actually only took about 3 weeks. It took an extra week, though, for my ancestry composition, which you can see here. This is part 2. If you are interested in how I got to this point, I'll put a link in the description to part 1. There is a lot of information on this site, so I'm going to be going through it relatively fast. Like most of my videos, my main goal isn't to review or tutorial, but just to show you of its existence and give you a general idea of what it can do for you. So here is what 23andme tells me about my ancestry composition. And if I hover over this, you can see that I'm 99.9% European, but it further breaks down my genetic code if I click on this stuff. And if I keep clicking, this is my full genetic code breakdown. And if you look at this closely, you can see that I am mostly Ashkenazi. 25.8%, and then my French and German genes are 22%. There are little bits in there. For instance, it says that I have 0.5% Scandinavian. Let's see, what's down here? 6.3% Eastern European, 2.8% Southern European, which breaks down to 2.4% Balkan. There's a little part over here that's non-specific Southern European. So this is a lot. This is what you can see here. You can also get different graphs here. For instance, there's the chromosome view, which you can look at individual bits of your chromosome, and you can see where they're getting their information from. So this is all color-coded. And, for instance, this dark bit here, they apparently associate with my Ashkenazi code, and so on and so forth. There's another thing here called the split view, which I apparently can't do until my parents contribute to 23andme. And I believe that they're going to do that, so I look forward to this particular part. But anyway, there's other things that you can do here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but if you click on this, you can see that I am 2.7% Neanderthal. And down here, my girlfriend did this, and she is actually 2.6% Neanderthal, and she was boasting earlier about how she's more evolved than I am. Whatever. There's various ancestry tools down here that you can take advantage of. One weird thing was your very own DNA melody, and if you click on this and press play, I don't specifically know how they do this, but they just make your own personal melody based on, I guess, various aspects of your code. I don't know how it works, but here's mine. I actually thought this part was kind of lame, but I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that's going to be amused by it, so I figured I'd include it. Going on to the really interesting stuff, which is what I signed up for this for. They give you your health risks, drug response, inherited conditions, traits, and health tools. This is really the section that I wanted to dig into, so I'll show you a little bit about what they show me here. Okay, so here's a list for elevated risks, and if I scroll down, you can see decreased risks here, and then there are typical risks. But this is the part that I wanted to know, and it says I'm at elevated risks for type 2 diabetes, psoriasis, and rheumatoid arthritis. I already have a little bit of arthritis in my feet, so this actually didn't surprise me too much. I have type 2 diabetes running in the family, so that doesn't really surprise me either. And I get dry skin a lot. I haven't had full-blown psoriasis yet, but I guess that doesn't really surprise me either. If you click on this, though, you can see your risk specifically, and the average person here 25.7 people out of 100 people would typically develop this condition over time, and my risk is much higher than that. So this says people with my genetic code, 34.5 out of 100 would develop type 2 diabetes. And I'm keeping myself pretty healthy, so I'm not too concerned about this, but it's good to know. And if you scroll down to the bottom, they tell you what you can do to minimize your risk. So, useful stuff. Another concern of mine is Alzheimer's runs in the family. So I really wanted to know what my risk of getting Alzheimer's was, but as it turns out, I'm at a decreased risk for this. So this is good for me to know because I can cast aside a lot of my worries. As long as I keep my mind working, then I don't have to worry too much about developing this. But if I click on this, you can see that the average person, 7.2 people out of 100 would develop Alzheimer's in their later years, and my risk is only 4.3 people out of 100. So I was happy to hear that. They give you educational videos about Alzheimer's too, and again, what you can do to decrease your symptoms. So it takes you a long time to go through all this stuff, but to me it was all fascinating. The confidence level basically tells you how extensive the study was and how much confidence they have in telling you of your elevated risk here. So these three right here, those were more extensive studies than the ones shown down here. So let's go to drug response. This is also very interesting to know. And just looking at this briefly, you can see various drugs over here. One familiar one that a lot of people know about is Coumadin, which is a blood thinner. And it says that I have an increased sensitivity to Coumadin, which means that if a doctor was ever using Coumadin on me, he might want to know that my genetic makeup warrants an extra sensitivity to Coumadin, and he might start with a lower dose rather than a higher dose. Going to inherited conditions, I was relieved to see this, but at the same time kind of disappointed because I don't have any variants in any of these whatsoever. So I don't really have too much to say on this. So this is the traits section, and they tell you a lot of stuff on here, like your reaction to alcohol, your earwax type, hair color, and these are all probabilities. For instance, they told my girlfriend that she had she was likely to have blue-colored eyes, but her eyes are kind of greenish gray. So it's not always completely accurate. But these are all likelihoods, I would say. Whether or not you're lactose intolerant, your reaction to smoking, your muscle performance, what kind of body type you have, just awesome stuff that, is just interesting to know. Not necessarily useful, but interesting to know. Whether or not you have freckles, tuberculosis susceptibility. So there's a bunch of stuff on here. And if you sign up for this, you can look at it all as it pertains to you. So I hope this gave you a good idea of what you could use 23andMe for. There's a lot here that I didn't cover, so I'm sorry, but hopefully it was enough to convince you that this is definitely something that most people should have, particularly if they're thinking about their health and planning for the future. So, thank you for watching the Internet Hive, where we endeavor to collect things sweet on the Internet.